Ancient African village at dusk. Red earth glowing. Fola gazes down the path. Ominous sky. They say every village carries a secret. Something too dark to speak aloud, but too powerful to ignore. In the heart of Africa, where the red earth holds memories older than time, there is a tale whispered in hushed voices. A tale of a girl who carried the hopes of an entire people and returned carrying something far more terrifying. Close-up of Fola's fearful face in firelight. Villagers whisper blurred in background. The elders warn, not every path that shines with promise leads to light. Some paths, they say, are baited with dreams, but end in shadows. Dark forest at night, glowing carved symbol, thick mist under moonlight. It began in the quiet village of Kue, where life moved slowly, steady as the sun. The people believed their way of living was enough, until one decision shattered that peace forever. A young daughter was chosen to leave, carrying her village's pride on her shoulders. She was meant to bring back knowledge, prosperity, and light. But what she carried back instead was the weight of a curse, one that spread like a sickness, devouring her body and breaking the hearts of those who once celebrated her. Witnesses speak of her return. Thin as a shadow, eyes hollow, and her belly swollen with a secret no one could explain. Some said it was an illness. Others swore it was a punishment from the ancestors, a reminder that forgotten traditions demand a price. Whatever it was, it consumed her, and it left the village trembling with fear. But the real horror is not what happened to her body. It is what her story reveals about the dangers that wait beyond the village gates. So listen carefully, for this is not just a tale about one girl. It is a warning to every parent, every daughter, and every village that dares to send their children into the world. Would you still send your daughter to school if you knew what awaited her there? Kue village daytime life, men farming, women pounding yam, children by baobab tree, Fola weaving mats. In Kue, life was simple, steady, and bound by rhythm. The sun rose each day over the same red earth, and the people walked paths worn deep by generations before them. Boys became farmers, casting seeds into soil tilled by their fathers' hands. Some took to the rivers, fishing with nets that shimmered like silver in the morning light. Others carved wood into stools and tools, shaping life from what the land gave them. The girls, too, had their place. They cooked by the fire, pounding yam until their arms ached, weaving mats from palm fronds, braiding each other's hair beneath the wide shade of the baobab tree. After secondary school, most would marry, their laughter filling the courtyards as they raised children who would repeat the same cycle. The people of Kue believed this was enough. They had never seen a university, never dreamed of cities where buildings kissed the clouds. To them, education ended after secondary school, and the future was as narrow and predictable as the paths that led from hut to farm and back again. But then the visitors came. Procession of Fola leaving Kue, drums beating, villagers crying, sunlight haloing her figure. One hot afternoon, while the village women were returning from the stream, a group of strangers entered Kue. They carried books under their arms, their clothes crisp and foreign, their shoes shining like mirrors in the sun. They spoke of things the villagers had never heard. Lecture halls, libraries filled with endless shelves, teachers who traveled the world. To the people of Kue, it was as though the visitors had stepped out of a dream. Whispers spread quickly. Parents began to wonder, could their children walk this new path? Could they too rise beyond the boundaries of red earth and riverbanks? It was the first time the people of Kue felt a hunger greater than the hunger of the stomach. It was a hunger of the mind, a hunger of possibility. And so, when the chance came, they chose one among them. Her name was Fola. She was bright, eager, her eyes wide with curiosity. More than that, she carried the quiet strength of her people. To them, she was not just a girl. She was a vessel for their hopes. If she succeeded, the whole village would rise with her. The day she left, drums echoed through Kue. Mothers wiped their tears. Fathers clasped her shoulders. Children followed her down the dusty road. The elders prayed, calling upon the ancestors to guide her steps. And though fear lingered in their hearts, pride shone brighter. Fola in bustling city street, still in village wrapper, looking overwhelmed, beside modern-dressed city girls. Fola's first weeks in the city felt like walking inside a dream. Her heart pounded each morning as she entered her new school, where the walls echoed with voices and footsteps, and the classrooms were filled with books thicker than anything she had ever seen. She studied hard, soaking in every lesson as though each word was water for a thirsty soul. But soon, the dream began to crack. Fola studying in candlelit dorm, shadows stretching, stomach growling, determination in her eyes. At first it was small. The polished students with their shiny shoes and rich laughter glanced at her and then whispered. Some covered their mouths as they giggled at her simple village dresses, hand-stitched from fabrics that carried her home's pride. To her, they were symbols of Kue, her people's love. To them, they were strange. The whispers grew louder. Village girl. They called her that as though it was her true name. Their words pricked her heart like thorns, and though she lifted her head high, the sting never left her. By the third week, the laughter no longer hid behind hands. It spilled openly in the corridors. The boys sneered, blocking her path with careless smirks. Go back where you came from. Each word chipped away at her spirit. Still Fola endured. She remembered the faces of her people, the hope that burned in their eyes. She whispered to herself, I must not fail them. But the city was a hungry place, and soon its hunger turned against her. Toshi draping shimmering wrapper over Fola in courtyard. Dusk torches glowing, Fola torn with fear. The money her village sent was little, barely enough to buy food after paying for her fees and room. Some nights she lay awake, her stomach empty and growling like a restless beast. She studied by candlelight, the shadows stretching long across her walls, whispering doubts into her ears. Hunger was no stranger to her, but in the city it came like a shadow that never left. It was then that she leaned on her new friend, Toshi. Toshi was lively, sharp-eyed, and full of laughter. She knew the city's secrets, the best stalls, the cheapest foods, the shortcuts through twisting streets. And though her family was not rich, she always seemed to have what Fola did not. New shoes, crisp dresses, coins to spend on treats. Fola wondered, silently at first, where it all came from. Fola alone in candlelit room, belly slightly swollen, shadows on wall forming writhing serpents. And then the first sign appeared. One morning, Fola awoke with her body aching, her skin burning as though fever clung to her bones, and stranger still, her belly began to swell. At first she denied it, pressing her hands against it, whispering to herself that it was only her mind playing tricks. But it grew with each sunrise, while the rest of her body shrank thin as twigs. Her arms fragile, her cheeks hollow, yet her stomach hardened round as a clay pot. The whispers around her grew sharper. It is not sickness, some said. It is a curse. Her strength drained. Medicines failed. The city doctors shook their heads. Even Toshi's laughter, once a comfort, grew distant. Soon, Fola was alone, weak, trembling, her body betraying her, her dreams collapsing like dust in the wind. Villagers of Kue horrified as Fola returns on stretcher. Frail body, swollen belly, Yamoja grim with staff, and then came the whispers of ancestors, until finally she could walk no more. Her friends carried her back across the roads, wrapped in a blanket, frail and trembling. When Kue saw her, silence fell. She was unrecognizable, thin as a shadow, her belly swollen in a way that chilled the heart. The daughter they had sent away with blessings and hope had returned carrying something else entirely. Something cursed. Sacred grove ritual, torches and fire, Fola on ground, elders chanting, mist curling between trees. That night, under the cover of darkness, the elders carried Fola to the sacred grove, a place forbidden to ordinary villagers. Around her, the elders chanted, voices rising and falling like waves, calling upon the ancestors. Supernatural eruption. Fola screaming, black smoke pouring from her mouth, faceless shadow emerging. And then the first scream. It did not come from Fola's mouth, but from deep within her. Black smoke spilled into the air, twisting and writhing like serpents, forming a tall, faceless shadow with ember eyes. Faceless shadow towering above grove, ember eyes sweeping, villagers kneeling in terror. Fola collapsed. She sought knowledge, but knowledge without wisdom is poison. The shadow thundered. The villagers fell to the ground, pressing their faces into the dirt. Sparks of light flickered faintly above the elders, but the spirit only laughed, a sound like bones breaking. Morning after, muted village light, Fola frail outside Yamoja's hut, villagers whispering in fear. When dawn broke over Kuei, the village lay in silence. Fola remained frail, her eyes restless, sometimes herself, sometimes the spirit. The village that once dreamed of her triumph now saw her as a vessel of warning. Sacred grove at dusk, cold fire pits, Yamoja's staff half-buried, faint silhouette of shadow in mist. And so the moral of Fola's story spread. Knowledge without wisdom is like fire without control. It burns, it destroys, it consumes. The people of Kuei never forgot this. But always, in the quiet moments when the night was still, they remembered the other truth too. That the shadow, once awakened, never sleeps forever. And so I ask you, as the elders of Kuei once asked their children, if your daughter were chosen, would you send her away, knowing the shadow's wait just beyond the gates?